He built Walmart from a single store in Arkansas into the largest retailer in the world, but behind Sam Walton's empire was a family story just as compelling. His wife and 4 children each faced the challenge of living in the shadow of his legendary success. Some embraced leadership, some pursued quiet lives, and one left behind a legacy cut tragically short. One, Helen Walton. Helen Robson Walton was more than just the wife of Walmart's founder. She was the steady hand that shaped the family's values. Born in Claremore, Oklahoma in 1919, Helen grew up with strong roots in education and faith. She met Sam Walton in the early 1940s, and they married in 1943. Together, they built not only a retail empire but also a home defined by frugality, discipline, and purpose. Despite the family's growing wealth, Helen insisted on living modestly. The Waltons drove practical cars, wore simple clothes, and lived without ostentation. For Helen, wealth was not for personal indulgence, but for building opportunities for others. She often reminded her children that money was a tool, not a goal. That philosophy would later influence the billions the Walton family donated to charitable causes. While Sam was busy opening stores and pursuing his retail dream, Helen anchored the household. She raised their 4 children, Rob, John, Jim, and Alice, with an emphasis on humility and responsibility. She was deeply involved in education and community service, volunteering at local organizations and encouraging her children to think about the wider world beyond business. When Sam died in 1992, Helen inherited a substantial fortune, making her one of the wealthiest women in the world at the time. Yet she continued to live in Bentonville, Arkansas, not in New York or Los Angeles. She became a driving force behind the Walton Family Foundation, which has donated billions to causes such as education reform, the arts, and community dev. Helen died in 2007 at the age of 87. By then, her influence had become clear. She was the Walton family's moral compass, ensuring that their vast fortune was directed to the good of others. 2. Rob Walton. Samuel Robson Rob Walton, born in 1944, was the first of Sam and Helen Walton's children. As the eldest, he carried the greatest expectation of continuing his father's legacy. Rob grew up in the heart of Arkansas, where he watched his father build Walmart from a single store into a fast-growing chain. From an early age, he absorbed both Sam's relentless work ethic and Helen's emphasis on modest living, but he also understood that one day, leadership of the family empire might fall to him. Rob studied business at the University of Arkansas and later earned a law degree from Columbia Law School. For a time, he worked as a lawyer, gaining experience in corporate and financial matters. But when Sam's health began to decline, Rob was increasingly drawn back into the family business. After Sam's death in 1992, Rob succeeded him as chairman of Walmart's board, a role that placed him at the center of one of the most powerful companies in the world. As chairman, Rob oversaw Walmart's rapid expansion throughout the 1990s and 2000s, pushing the company further into global markets. He faced constant scrutiny, both for Walmart's labor practices and for the family's dominance over the board. Critics argued that the Walton family held too much power, but Rob defended their leadership as essential to preserving the company's founding values. Despite the controversies, Walmart continued to grow, cementing its position as the world's largest retailer. Rob stepped down as chairman in 2015, handing the reins to his son-in-law, Greg Penner, which ensured the company remained under close family influence. Beyond Walmart, Rob is known as an avid art collector and environmental philanthropist. In 2022, he made headlines for leading a group that purchased the NFL's Denver Broncos, extending the Walton presence into the world of professional sports. Today, Rob Walton is worth tens of billions of dollars, but he has maintained his father's belief in practicality and low-key living. His story reflects the delicate balance of carrying forward a monumental business legacy while carving out his own chapter as steward of the world's largest retail empire. 3. John Walton. John Thomas Walton, born in 1946, was the second son of Sam and Helen Walton. Unlike his older brother Rob, John was never drawn to the boardroom or corporate spotlight. Instead, he built a life defined by adventure, service, and philanthropy. While the Walton name became synonymous with Walmart's explosive growth, John chose paths that reflected independence and courage. After attending college, John enlisted in the U.S. Army and served as a Green Beret in the Vietnam War. He flew reconnaissance and supply missions, often under heavy fire, and was awarded the Silver Star for bravery. Those who served with him remembered him as calm under pressure and fiercely committed to his fellow soldiers. His military service set the tone for the rest of his life, disciplined, daring, and focused on making a difference. When he returned home, John pursued aviation passionately. He became a pilot and co-founded a company that provided medical helicopters, helping to save countless lives in emergencies across the country. Later, he invested in businesses connected to outdoor pursuits, reflecting his love for nature and adventure. Unlike his siblings, he steered clear of public appearances tied to Walmart, preferring to keep his work and philanthropy separate from the family's retail empire. John became especially committed to education reform. He invested heavily in initiatives supporting school choice and charter schools, believing that education was the key to opportunity. Through the Walton Family Foundation and his own efforts, he directed millions toward improving schools and giving disadvantaged children more options. Tragically, John's adventurous spirit also led to his untimely death. In June 2005, while piloting an experimental ultralight aircraft near Jackson, Wyoming, he was killed in a crash at the age of 58. His death was a devastating blow to the Walton family and a reminder that even immense wealth cannot shield against tragedy. John Walton is remembered not as a corporate executive, but as a soldier, pilot, and philanthropist whose life embodied service and courage. His legacy endures in the causes he supported and in the example he set for living with both independence and purpose. 4. Jim Walton. James Jim Carr Walton, born in 1948, is the third son of Sam and Helen Walton. Of all the Walton children, Jim is often described as the most private and reserved. While his siblings pursued leadership in Walmart or charted unique paths in philanthropy and art, Jim chose a quieter but equally influential role in the family's financial empire. His life reflects the values of discretion and stability that his parents instilled. Jim grew up in Bentonville, Arkansas, surrounded by the early days of Walmart's growth. He watched his father expand from a single store to a nationwide chain, but was never drawn to the spotlight of retail management. Instead, Jim gravitated toward banking and finance, finding his place within the family's other major asset, Arvest Bank. Arvest, originally a small regional bank, grew significantly under Jim's leadership. As chairman and CEO, he oversaw its expansion into one of the largest banks in the region, with branches across several states. His steady hand and preference for operating quietly contrasted with the high-profile controversies Walmart often faced. Jim's style has always been understated. He avoids interviews, lives modestly in Arkansas, and rarely makes public appearances. Like his siblings, Jim has played a role in philanthropy, particularly through the Walton Family Foundation. He has focused much of his giving on education, supporting initiatives designed to improve schools and expand opportunities for children. Unlike Alice, whose art philanthropy drew national headlines, or Rob, whose leadership in Walmart kept him visible, Jim has preferred to keep his contributions largely out of the public eye. Financially, Jim is among the wealthiest individuals in the world, with a net worth estimated in the tens of billions. Yet despite this, he has maintained a reputation for humility, embodying the frugality and low-key lifestyle his parents valued. In Bentonville, he remains rooted to the community, reinforcing the idea that the Walton fortune is not just about global business, but also about local responsibility. 5. Alice Walton. Alice Louise Walton, born in 1949, is the youngest of Sam and Helen Walton's 4 children and the only daughter. Unlike her brothers, who took roles in banking, philanthropy, or Walmart leadership, Alice chose a very different path. From early on, she showed little interest in the retail empire that made her family the wealthiest in America. Instead, she was drawn to the world of art, a passion that would eventually define her life and legacy. Alice studied economics and finance in college, but her heart was always in collecting and appreciating art. Over the years, she built one of the most impressive personal art collections in the United States, acquiring works by iconic artists such as Winslow Homer, Georgia O'Keeffe, and Norman Rockwell. Her vision went beyond private collecting. She dreamed of bringing world-class art to her hometown of Bentonville, Arkansas. In 2011, that dream became reality with the opening of Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art. Funded largely by Alice's fortune, the museum instantly became one of the most significant cultural institutions in the country. Housing works that span the history of American art, Crystal Bridges has attracted millions of visitors and transformed Bentonville into an unlikely art destination. For Alice, the museum was more than just a showcase of beauty. It was a gift to the public, especially to people who might never otherwise experience masterpieces up close. Alice's life has not been without controversy. She has faced scrutiny for multiple DUI arrests in the past, and her reclusive lifestyle has fueled media curiosity. Yet her dedication to art and philanthropy has earned her recognition as one of the most influential women in the art world. Forbes and other outlets frequently list her among the richest women globally, with a net worth in the tens of billions. Today, Alice Walton remains focused on expanding Crystal Bridges and promoting access to art. Unlike her brothers, she never sought to lead Walmart, but her impact has been no less profound. By transforming her personal passion into a cultural legacy, she ensured that the Walton name would be associated not only with business and wealth, but also with creativity, beauty, and education. Each member of the Walton family charted their own course, influenced by their father's ideals, but also determined to create identities of their own. Together, their lives reveal how one man's dream reshaped not only American shopping habits, but also the future of his family.